searchlights glare and there's gunshots and shouting, but somehow I slip by, only God knows why. The trucker dropped me at the Arkansas line. Where I come from is where the drugs run, and the men come with money and lust. For honest living, I hope God's forgiving, for I left my family for this one chance at hope. And I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here? Scars and scratches, chemical rashes. No one trusts me to do more than clean, but I've got secrets, I've learned English. Someday the name on the door will be mine, and I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
For all the politicians state their positions, collecting campaign cash to build a wall behind them. But I do work you own, dirty jobs you don't, and all I ask is the right to be human. And I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here? I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here?
Good morning, and welcome to the virtual Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart. We are a welcoming community, encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual spiritual and ethical growth, celebrating diversity, promoting a just and sustainable world. My name is Ryan Gill, and I'm a member of the board of this congregation. Welcome to you all, and thank you for tuning in today.
Good morning and welcome to worship with Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart. It's wonderful that you're here with us. My name is Amy DeBeck and I am pleased and proud, I'm very honored to be the minister at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart and that you're here with us. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. In this week of finding out about the returns from the presidential election, it's led me to change my focus a little bit. November's theme is healing, and a large part of healing is hope. As I have looked through all of my notes about what I might say, I have come across a service delivered by my dear friend, the Reverend Mark Worth. And I've asked him, can I just give your hope sermon? And he said, sure. So later on, when we get to the sermon part, you'll get to hear my voice and the inner workings of Mark Worth. Some announcements I want to tell you include a sad one. Phil Campagnoli lost his younger brother, Steve, this week. It was a non-COVID related death, but Phil and Janelle and Steve's family, their other brother, Steve's wife and children, are all being held very warmly and dearly by all of us who know Phil and Janelle, and maybe you knew Steve. He was in this area. He worked as an optometrist for 45 years. So we're holding that family carefully. Also, next week is our annual bread communion. And yes, we're still going to do it. What we're going to do, typically for our bread communion, we bring in the breads of our families, be it tortillas or babka, or I think one year somebody had hillbilly bread on the table. Whatever bread you grew up with, whether it was the favorite that you bought or whether someone in your family made the bread, we invite you, we ask you, please, think about that familial bread, that ethnic bread, and either take a picture, or you could even do a video. You can set your phone on the counter and do it yourself, or if you have someone that someone on your quarantine, they could take it for you. But we would love to have a photo or a video by Friday, November 20th. We would love to have a photo or a video of you and your bread. If you'd like to talk about it, please do. Just keep it to a couple minutes. If it's too long, we have editing equipment. But please send us pieces so that we can put together an ethnic bread service for UUFE. You text it to Kevin. He uses his magic technical stuff, and text actually works the best. Oftentimes the email or the messenger stuff on Facebook, the file's too big and it doesn't work. So please text your photo or video to Kevin DeBeck, 574-333-6861. And now Annette Annette's new on the Worship Arts Committee, and so we welcome Annette Long to ring the gong and to share the chalice lighting in a week about hope and about how Unitarian Universalism is a faith that can carry you through this time when you're looking for hope. I'm glad you're here with us.
We ring the gong 3 times. Once for those who came before us and made a place for us. Once for those who are here now. Once for those who will come after us and build on the dream. Our chalice lighting is by Maureen Killeran. As the kindling of this chalice calls us to community, let there be light. As the flame of this chalice reminds us of our values, let there be light. As the glow of this chalice encourages us to hope, let there be light. Let there be light.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant.
justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound.
This week has been a very busy week for you ministers everywhere. It certainly has been for me. As I was on Zoom meetings and talking with colleagues and a lot of you, as I was on Facebook looking for all kinds of things, as I was looking for information for the sermon this week, I came across a Facebook posting from my friend Mark Worth. Now, I don't want to confuse anybody here, but it goes like this. Harvard University is in Cambridge, Massachusetts, but the church that Mark served was in Harvard, Massachusetts, which is not where Harvard University is. Anyway, so after his retirement, he did some interim work, which led him into Harvard, Massachusetts, to their congregation for a year or two. And he gave this great sermon on hope, March 19th, 2017. When another one of our colleagues asked Mark if they could quote part of his sermon, and Mark said yes, I said, great, can I just use all of it? And he said yes. So The following sermon was written by Mark in 2017. It soothed my soul to read it, and I want to share it with you. When you face challenges, when your heart is broken, what gets you through? From Genesis 42:36, we learn that Jacob was despairing of hope. He had just learned that his sons, who had gone to Egypt to get a grain allotment during a famine, had been accused of being spies and had to leave Simon, one of the brothers, behind in an Egyptian prison. An Egyptian prince was demanding that they go home and get their youngest brother Benjamin and bring him to Egypt if they ever wanted to see Simon again. Jacob's son Joseph had disappeared many years before, and now the old man lamented, "Joseph is no more, and Simon is no more, and now you want to take Benjamin? Everything is against me." You might already know this Bible story, and if you do, then you know something that Jacob didn't know. The Egyptian prince was actually Jacob's long-lost son Joseph. Long before, Joseph's brothers had been jealous of Joseph. Joseph was his father's favorite, the boy with the coat of many colors. His brothers got tired of playing second fiddle to Joseph, so they sold him into slavery, and they told their father that Joseph was dead. Joseph was sold to a caravan on its way to Egypt. Once in Egypt, he had, through a series of incredible circumstances, risen to a high position in the Egyptian government. He became, we might say, Pharaoh's Secretary of Agriculture, in charge of the Egyptian grain reserves. Now, many years later, he was dressed as an Egyptian prince. And his brothers didn't recognize him, but Joseph recognized his brothers. Now Joseph, seated on a throne, had the upper hand. The tables were turned. He put one of the brothers in prison, awaiting the return of the other brothers with their youngest sibling, Benjamin, now his father's favorite. Jacob, the father, was in despair. There was a famine, and he had been depending on a grain allotment from their Egyptian masters, but tragedy seems to strike at every turn. One son was missing and presumed dead, one son in prison, one son threatened. Jacob's heart was breaking. But something good was about to happen, something better than his wildest dreams. For when the family arrived in Egypt, Joseph revealed himself to his brothers and forgave them. Jacob had all of his sons restored, even the one he thought was dead. When I, meaning Mark, learned this story many years ago in Sunday school, it quickly became my favorite Bible story and has remained so. It's a story of forgiveness, a story with a happy ending, a story of joy, a story of hope. I'm going to depart from Mark's for just a moment to say that the Jacob story with his daughters is my favorite, with Rachel and Leah. There are a lot of other Bible stories that don't turn out so well. There are plagues and floods, slavery, murders, rapes, wars. But the story of Joseph is a bright spot. And it's even within the realm of possibility. It doesn't require any miracles. It only requires some hope, some determination, and forgiveness at the end. Despite what his brothers did to him, Joseph forgave. And he shared his good fortune with them. It's a story with a happy ending. A story of forgiveness, a story that gives hope. So our question today is, what is your story of hope? When everything is going wrong, what gets you through? What sustains you through the loss of a job, the death of a parent or a spouse or a sibling, a cancer diagnosis? When your heart is broken, what gets you through? It's not a rhetorical question. I'm asking, in your darkest hour, what is your story of hope? There are few questions that can be as important as this. The Reverend Rob Hardy's of All Souls UU Church in Washington, D.C., has said his definition of religion is people telling stories of hope. That's people like us telling stories that sustain us, that inspire us, stories that give us courage in difficult times. As religious people, this is not Rob Hardy's, this is Mark. As religious people, we search for stories of hope. The skeptic might press us for an answer. Is the story we tell about hope true? Is hope something like what Gertrude Stein once said of Oakland, California? She said, "There is no there." Siddhartha Gautama also lost hope when he came to realize that all people get sick, all people grow old, and all people die. But he searched for an answer until he found enlightenment and became the Buddha, the one who is awake. Even Jesus cried out on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" He felt alone and abandoned, but 3 days later his followers somehow experienced his continuing presence among them, and something new was born. And so, well, I don't know about you, I have faith in the future. Mark is writing this, but I agree with it. And when I talk of faith, I don't mean belief in the way that some people do. By faith, I mean trust. It's not so much a theological position. It's really a matter of confidence, faith, trust, confidence. It is, as a Warsaw Ghetto survivor said, I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. Bernice Johnson Regan of the singing group Sweet Honey in the Rock tells about how songs lifted the spirits of the civil rights marchers and workers during the 1950s and 60s, raising their voices with freedom songs in the gospel cadence of the Black church. Regan and her fellow marchers could feel the songs change the atmosphere. The freedom songs built community, nurtured courage, and fostered hope. Is that realistic? Can we sing ourselves into a better world? Can we live out the stories of hope? I say yes. It is my faith that we can build a better world. I have hope for the future and trust that we can live in justice and harmony and peace. We cannot expect a world free of illness, suffering, or pain, but we can sustain one another in communities of respect and compassion and loving kindness. I have this faith, and I believe my hope is realistic. Senator Barack Obama campaigned for the presidency with talk of hope, but he knew that it takes more than hope alone. Politics has never been easy. History has never been easy. Do you remember the 20th century? World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, the Holocaust, the atomic bomb, Stalin, the Cold War, Korea, Joe McCarthy, the Blacklist, the Berlin Wall, Vietnam, Pol Pot, and Idi Amin, lynchings, segregation, the Klan, the assassinations of John, Bobby, Medgar, Martin, and Malcolm. Did we think the 21st century would be easier? History, and we're living in history, history is not easy. This next line was written in the 2017 sermon. It says, "Now we have a man living in the White House who is giving us Trumpism, Trump care, Trump-splaining, and alternate facts." Reverend William Barber, a Christian pastor from Goldsboro, North Carolina, he's with Disciples of Christ, a member of the National Board of the NAACP and organizer of the Moral Mondays movement, has words of wisdom and courage and hope for us. He says, and this is a long quote, and I hear William Barber's voice in my head, I hope you do. Reverend Barber said, "Remember, This is not the first time America has had to deal with a racist president. This is not the worst thing we've ever seen, he says. To say that would be to disregard the trail of tears that natives faced, and slavery. But when you know history, you know that's not the only side of our American history. There's another side in our moral DNA, and that is people have always stood up. So first, and this is going on with Dr. Barber, so first, if we're going to change America, we have to change it from state houses on up. The Koch brothers came down to the state houses, and that's where they got their power. The worst laws about voting and wages and education happened in state legislatures. Second, you have to build a new language to pull people together, because left and right automatically sets people apart. So the way we did it, Reverend Barber says, is we had Moral Monday as a rallying point every Monday. Issue focused. For 10 years, North Carolina had been trying to raise the minimum wage and had not been successful. But when we came together, Black and white and Latino, Jew, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, people of faith, people not of faith, gay and straight, Republicans, Democrats, around this moral agenda, and we stopped talking about left and right and liberal versus conservative, but what's morally defensible, we won. And you have to build a movement, not a moment. Not just one rally, not one tweet, not one letter. The Moral Monday movement showed the framework that in the South, you can organize black people and brown people and white people. You can bring them together when you reframe the issues around the Constitution, around morality, around what is economically just. And you can win. So I believe that all of these movements, from Moral Monday to Fight for 15 to Black Lives Matter and on, are signs of hope that people are going to stand up and not stand down. That people are saying that standing down is not an option. If we were able to beat back slavery and Jim Crow, if women were able to win the right to vote, then maybe this is just our time. And from that standpoint, said Reverend Barber, I'm glad to be alive. And glad to be alive with so many others who say, we will not give up on the heart of this democracy. We will be the moral defibrillators of our time and shock the heart of this nation and build a movement of resistance and hope and justice and love. Now that was a long quote from Reverend Barber, but he's worth quoting. He's a man of faith who is keeping hope alive in this heartbreaking world. We know that this can be a world where we humans can be cruel to each other and sometimes even kill one another because we think the other person is the wrong color, the wrong ethnicity, the wrong social class, the wrong religion, the wrong sex, the wrong sexual orientation. Too often we act as if someone else's life doesn't really matter very much, as long as we are safe, warm, secure, and have our privileges. We must understand in this broken world that in order for all lives to matter, we must be clear that Black lives really do matter. This is a difficult moment in history, but the truth is, most moments in history are difficult. And as we live in history, our lives are full of difficult moments. If Joseph and his brothers and their father Jacob were real people in history, they might have been, then they surely faced adversities, because no one gets through life unscathed. We all face challenges. We all face sickness. We all face grief. So do you remember the question we started with? In your darkest hour, what is your source of hope? Think for a moment. Mark is saying this, but I agree. In my darkest hours, it has been the support of friends, the acceptance of a community, the love of parents and siblings, the forgiveness of my life partner, the good advice given by friends and counselors, the sustenance of a spiritual path, and the remembering of my ability to change and to cope and to grow. It was the knowledge that I had the ability to do what I needed to do, to live through the dark hour and to be there for the others who needed me as well. Russell Sanders, in his book Hunting for Hope, tells this true story. A British couple in their mid-20s, haggard and bruised, recalled for the television camera how they were on holiday in Indonesia, trying to decide whether to get married, when the ferry boat they were riding between islands sank during a storm. They clambered into a lifeboat, but so did many others, and the lifeboat foundered. So the couple set off swimming, calling back and forth to keep track of one another in the rough seas, until they came upon a floating spar, and there they clung, waiting for rescue. Eventually, 5 other passengers joined them, but one by one, the others ran out of strength, let go of the spar, and drowned. Asked how they managed to hold on for 13 hours while the waves hurled them about, the couple smiled shyly at the camera. The woman said, "We remembered things we had done together. We told jokes. We sang. We promised one another we'd get married straight away," the man said, "if only we survived. It seemed like a test," the woman says, "as though some great power had asked us a question. How could we let go?" This was retold by Frederick John Muir in Heretic's Faith. As a Unitarian Universalist, my faith is filled with hope. We are a community of hope. The hope I experience here helps me to hold on to all the good things we share. With deep roots in a courageous past, we're grounded in the present, in the here and now, looking with hope toward the future. We have a vision of a better world that is possible. We experience the freedom of our faith, a freedom that allows us to dream the dreams, a world where diversity is respected, the earth is cherished, religion is non-dogmatic, and peace is possible. It's a moral agenda and a commitment to justice. It is a vision we laugh and sing about, we debate and sometimes argue about, a vision we can only reach if we are together. How could we ever let go of that? There is a bit of the divine, a bit of wholeness and holiness in this beautiful and broken world, and it is called hope. We each have it, and without finding it, we cannot live. It is the essence of our faith. Let us trust that hope. Thank you, Mark, and amen. It has been a wonderful Sunday to worship with you. Before I give the benediction, I want to welcome into the world my new great niece, Mackenzie Olsh Gilmore, and I want to wish my best friend, Jamie Schuin, a happy birthday. May Sarton taught us, or at least she warned us, help us to be the always hopeful gardeners of the Spirit who know that without darkness, nothing comes to birth, as without light, nothing flowers. Blessed be. Amen. Go in peace.